This is Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today. We have a loaded show as always. I'd like to just jump into it. More Olympic stuff because everyone's having the steroid conversation, and I didn't want to have the steroid conversation because that kind of throws a damper on everything. The Olympic spirit is about overcoming and achieving and reaching the highest possible levels that you can reach. And if you talk about steroids are cheating and basically against everything that we idealize in the Olympics. So, of course, we have to take it seriously if you suspect that someone is cheating. And when you look at track and field and you look at Michael Phelps and Katie Ledecky and Usain Bolt and all of those athletes who are dominating their sports, I mean, even a Simone Biles, when they're dominating their sports at such a high level, like you have to ask, who is doing this the right way and who isn't? And I don't think it's as important in the Olympics because, again, we don't pay attention to these sports but once every 4 years. But it does have like ramifications for other sports where we do pay attention to them, like baseball, like football. You've got the NFL trying to do that investigation with the players that were named in the Al Jazeera report, the one that they kind of half did the investigation with Peyton Manning and then said, you know what, he's good, he's fine. Get him out of here. But the other guys, James Harrison, Clay Matthews, come into the teacher's office or we're suspending you. So we've got all of that stuff popping up. And then you've got, the whole baseball thing with Alex Rodriguez, and he's probably not going to end up in the Hall of Fame, and the Yankees force him out. I mean, there's just a ton of implications of that. So we're going to talk about that. Team USA, the basketball team, they'll be playing soon. And this time, it's not group play. These are the medal rounds. You lose, you get eliminated. And this team has not shown that they are very good. And so we need to talk about that. Touched on it a little bit yesterday, but they prove that super teams, not all they're cracked up to be. Granted that this isn't like the most super version of this team, but like the problems here are obvious. And they're only going to be more exaggerated as you go along. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about the platforms. Where can you find us and where can we find you? I highly recommend Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure to check us out on our website, hotnewstalkradio.com, where you can get links to all of our social media, stream all of our programming 24/7, 365. And don't forget to check us out in the TuneIn Radio app. Again, that's the TuneIn Radio app, absolutely free on your mobile device in your favorite app store. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a favorite, press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So with steroids in the Olympics, right, you're looking at Usain Bolt, who is the, if he's not the greatest Olympian that I've ever seen, he's number 2. I mean, I watched Michael Johnson growing up. Like my very first Olympics that I ever watched was the 96 Olympics on my parents' tiny little TV in our house. Back when we lived in Maryland, I watched Michael Johnson on TV, and Michael Johnson is possibly the most dominant guy I've ever seen. Like that's my very first Olympics. That's my first Olympic memory. And that guy was dominant. He ran the 100, the 200. I believe he also ran the 400 and did the long. He did the long jump as well. Just a dominant guy all around. And Usain Bolt doesn't do the long jump, but in terms of just all of the running events, he is so dominant. And running is just a difficult thing to do when you start reaching those speeds. It just is. And so Usain Bolt is a guy, possibly the most dominant Olympian we've ever seen. And we're going to get into the discussion of which is harder, swimming or running later on, because I've heard that one too, and I have a take. I want to weigh in on that. But we've seen track and field athletes be popped for steroids. And a number of people with inside knowledge of the sport are saying the sport's dirty. Track and field's kind of dirty. And Justin Gatlin, who incidentally runs for Team USA and also ran at the University of Tennessee, left after his sophomore year basically to pursue his dreams as an Olympic athlete. Justin Gatlin got caught with performance enhancing drugs 3 times. 3 times. The first time, he was caught with amphetamines in his system, said he had a prescription for Ritalin and just didn't file the proper paperwork, so he gets off, slap on the wrist. The story of Justin Gatlin, by the way, is so ridiculous that you would not believe it. Like, if they made a movie about his life, it wouldn't make any sense in a Hollywood script. They wouldn't write the script because nobody would believe what it was that Justin Gatlin was doing. No one would believe it. Justin Gatlin gets caught a second time using performance-enhancing drugs, gets off or avoids a long-term suspension by wearing a wire and implicating somebody else, and then is mentioned a third time in a report about people using performance-enhancing drugs. And by the way, the second time that he got caught using steroids, he blamed it on a masseuse, that there was a masseuse that rubbed some ointment on his legs. And boy, that was the stuff that had the testosterone in it, and I don't know how it got there. Which, who's buying that? Like, that's worse than the dog ate my homework. It's arguably worse. He just, like, that's the most mailed-in excuse. That's more mailed in than I got hacked. No, you didn't. There was what masseuse would be rubbing cream on your legs that would have steroids in it? What masseuse are you seeing? So Justin Gatlin's story is literally unbelievable. And I mean that in the literal sense of the word. This story is not to be believed. It is so ridiculous. But Justin Gatlin has basically been implicated in some way or another, allegedly, with steroid use. He doesn't answer questions about it, obviously. He doesn't deny it either. His whole thing was, there was a reporter that once asked him about the steroids, and he asked the guy, what are you, a history major? As if to say that's in the past. And it would have been a great burn of a response, except the reporter actually was a history major, studied history at Stanford. So what I'm saying is, the guy, this whole thing, Justin Gatlin is definitely one example of the sport being dirty. When you look at Usain Bolt and what Usain Bolt is doing, can you logically say Usain Bolt is the only guy who's clean in a sea of guys that you're sure a good number of them are using steroids? We like Bolt. We like his cockiness. We like his swagger. We're Americans. We like winners. People think we watch the Olympic Games and root for Americans. Nah, dude. We root for swimmers because they're dominant. We root for runners because they're dominant. We root for fighters because they're dominant. Americans just like rooting for people who win. Why do you think we root for the Cowboys still? The Cowboys haven't been relevant in like 20 years. But once upon a time, the Cowboys were winners, and we know they'll get back there again. We root for the Yankees. We hate the Yankees, and we root for the Yankees. Ask any American what soccer team they root for over in England, because we don't watch MLS over here. What soccer team do we root for? Manchester United. Why? Because they're dominant and they win. What Spanish league team? Barcelona. Name another Spanish league team. You can't. We just root for winners over here. We don't even care where you're from. Usain Bolt is as American as anybody else because he's winning. And he's not just winning. He's out here clowning the competition. He's looking over his shoulder. He's making faces. He's turning to the camera and flashing a smile as he crosses the finish line. He's starting slow. And poor Justin Gatlin thought he had that dude beat at 50 meters. And the last 50 meters was the Usain Bolt show. Was the Usain Bolt show. Usain Bolt was like, nope, I got that one. And we like that stuff. We like that he comes out in the gold shoes and then he goes to his press conference and he's just dancing on his way out. We like that. For the same reason we all liked Cam doing it. I mean, everybody said they hated Cam, but everybody liked Cam. There wasn't anybody that really didn't like Cam. The winning, the swagger, it's the most American thing there is. But what you're telling me is Usain Bolt's clean. He is so much bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else that he's beating everybody clean. And Have doubts about it. I have doubts about Usain Bolt. I have doubts that the Jamaican team, this track and field team, Jamaica had no gold medals like 3 Olympics ago. Now their whole track and field team is crushing the world because it's not just Bolt. I mean, there's just doubts there. And I don't want to put the cloud and I don't want to put the damper on everybody, but it's a realistic fact. Like what Michael Phelps is doing as far as longevity is going, unheard of. And you have to ask the question when the longevity is there, because like that's really what caught Lance Armstrong in a lot of ways, was if Lance Armstrong had won like 5 Tour de France's and left, we don't ever talk about Lance Armstrong, the cheater. And he's one of the greatest cyclists of all time. He stayed there long enough to get caught. And there's no way a guy getting older is cycling faster. It's what gets all the baseball guys. Guy's a 20 home run guy his whole career. He's maybe in AAA baseball, in and out of the minors his whole career. Then suddenly, dude dings 45. Red flag. He dings 45 at 38 years old. Guess what? We think you're on the juice, and we're probably right. You're looking at a guy like Michael Phelps, who is dominating people physically in a way that you have the doubts there. I'm not saying he's dirty. I'm not saying Bolt's dirty. I'm not saying Katie Ledecky's dirty either, but Katie Ledecky is smoking the competition. She's on the podium with her gold medal before everybody else is getting up out the pool. I mean, that's got to mean something, right? Like, she's beating people by 11 seconds. That's unheard of. And it could just be Katie Ledecky is simply the greatest female swimmer ever. It's possible that she really is just clean 11 seconds faster than everybody. The level of competition in swimming is not as high as the level of competition in track because more people run, which is part of my argument for why Bolt is a greater Olympian than Michael Phelps. But we'll get there. Get there. Not to put the cart in front of the horse, but what Katie Ledecky is doing is bonkers. But if you have to watch sports with the idea that everybody and anybody could be cheating, that invites a certain level of pessimism that nobody likes. Nobody likes the level of pessimism that is. We want optimism around our sports. And so, not unlike watching TV and not unlike watching a movie or professional wrestling, we suspend our disbelief. How many movies still hold up? Still, stand the test of time despite the fact that their special effects are dated? The movies that I like, the original Star Wars trilogy, which I have not seen the entirety of. Leave me alone. Star Trek. I like the original series of Star Trek. It's on Amazon Prime. I watch it sometimes. Alien, RoboCop. Like, these movies were ahead of their time technologically when it came to special effects, but now in 2016, like those effects look dated. I mean, in Star Wars, Yoda is a puppet. Now we've got CG Yoda just flipping all over the place. Yoda's a puppet in the original trilogy of Star Wars. But why are those movies still classics? Why do they still hold up? Because the story is so good. We do what a lot of writers and filmmakers call suspension of disbelief. We allow ourselves to believe that that's real because we like the story. And that's where we're at with sports and steroids. I think there's a level of suspension of disbelief that we're allowing ourselves to believe that all these athletes are clean because we like that story. We like that story better, that if you're winning, we'd rather you not be cheating. We don't want you to be cheating, and we will be betrayed and we will be disappointed if we ever find out that you are. It's just a plain fact. I mean, like, if you look at other disgraced athletes, right? I'm going to jump over to baseball for this one because baseball probably highlights the optimism story better than anybody, which is that if you look at a guy like Alex Rodriguez, who's being forced into retirement in New York because he's just generally unlikable. And people have argued, he's not a true Yankee and all of those things. And A-Rod is a guy who helped them win in 2009, basically in the playoffs, put the team on his back in 2009, helped them win a World Series. And Alex Rodriguez got caught and has admitted to steroid use. And he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame for that. And even though if like just the eye test, right? Like Alex Rodriguez in my lifetime, I'm 26 years old. In my lifetime, Alex Rodriguez is one of the best baseball players I've ever seen in life. If not, like a top 3 baseball player that I have ever seen in life. Like Alex Rodriguez is there with the greats of the game, except he used steroids and admitted to using steroids, right? But it doesn't betray our optimism there. We would have liked Alex Rodriguez to be clean, but we don't like Alex Rodriguez. He's not a likable person. He's a guy that takes over-the-top photo shoots where he's kissing himself in the mirror. He's got a gigantic painting of himself in his house. We've all heard the Alex Rodriguez's self-centered stories. And despite the fact that all of his teammates will tell you nothing but Alex Rodriguez is the best teammate I've ever had, we think that Alex Rodriguez is selfish and all of these things. We don't like Alex Rodriguez, and we don't need any more reasons not to like Alex Rodriguez. The steroids just add to reasons not to like Alex Rodriguez. However, Mike Piazza's in the Hall of Fame. Mike Piazza's in the Hall of Fame. And Mike Piazza used steroids, and Mike Piazza admitted to using steroids, and that dude's in the Hall of Fame. So then what is the point now? Like if a guy who uses steroids can get into the Hall of Fame, and I don't have a problem with that, because we know that like if that were the case, there's an entire generation of guys we shouldn't even just let in the Hall of Fame. We should just skip voting for Hall of Fame candidates for like 6 years to just get it out of our system, like steroids. Just get it out of our system, because there's a whole steroid era that we know of that's just tainted with guys that were using steroids. But we let a guy in who admitted to it and who we know was using steroids. Piazza was using. Piazza's in. Barry Bonds, we don't like that guy. Mike Piazza's a cool dude. Mike Piazza's a cool dude. And there's rumors that Jeff Bagwell used steroids. Andy Pettitte might make it into the Hall of Fame. And if it's going to be those guys getting into the Hall of Fame, you have to ask yourself why. Do you know why? Because we felt betrayed, but they admitted it, and they're such nice guys, and the reputation of their niceness props up that optimism, and we suspend disbelief all over again in a way that we're never going to do with an Alex Rodriguez or a Barry Bonds. And trust me, Usain Bolt and all of his swagger, the golden shoes, like I said before, he's just dancing. That stuff is going to backfire. If we ever find out Usain Bolt was ever on steroids, we're going to feel so betrayed. And for why? Because like if you just look logically at it, Usain Bolt's probably not clean. Now, we allow ourselves to believe that Usain Bolt is clean for a number of reasons. Like if you just, again, the eye test is a great thing because when we look at stuff, that's how we take in information, and Usain Bolt looks like a freak of nature. Usain Bolt, compared to the other sprinters, is a giant. He's got big, long legs. He's got a big frame. Like everything about Usain Bolt is not sprinter. He's a big dude. Huge guy. Same thing for Michael Phelps. It's hard to look at Michael Phelps and say that guy's cheating because he looks like a fish. I mean, he looks like a fish man. He's got big flipper feet. He's 90% of his body is a torso. Like Michael Phelps was designed to swim. Just if you look at his body, it doesn't. Usain Bolt is mostly legs. Michael Phelps is mostly torso. If you were designing people in a lab to do the things that both of those guys do, you'd come out with exactly who they are. So it's hard to look at them and go, steroids. Like we have a mental reason we can check off as to why it is that these guys are superior to everybody else. But you have to figure at some level, if everybody else is cheating and you're winning, why do I have to be optimistic about you? Why should I be optimistic about you? That's a tough sell to me. I have no reason. And I don't want to be a pessimist when I watch sports. I don't like the idea of watching sports and always having to guess, is he cheating? Is he not cheating? Is she cheating? Is she not cheating? I really just want to watch sports and believe that everybody is doing this fairly. So in a lot of ways, I blind myself to it too. But I really don't think we should, because that puts the people who are doing it cleanly at a very large disadvantage. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. We'll talk about Team USA and why they prove that supergroups always stink.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. I'm Larry Daniels from Daniels Insurance, and on the average, our customers save $400 a year. We offer retirement vehicles and annuities in addition to other investment products that help you protect your family. Call 423-332-4774.
Order a 16-inch pizza at Toscano's Italian Grill and get a free 10-inch pizza. Toscano's, authentic Italian food, fresh-made ingredients and sauces. When you and your bambino sit down at Toscano Italian Grill, you're served by smiling people. They make you feel like part of the family. Toscano's is easy to find. It's in the recruiting center at 153 and Lee Highway. Toscano's, scrumptious pizzas made with fresh dough, come to you bubbling hot from an authentic brick oven. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza when you order a 16-incher. Heaping portions, friendly, 10:30 to 10:30, 7 days a week. Toscano delivers. 805-3888. Like us on Facebook. Ask about Toscano's app. Nobody does it better. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza with 2 toppings when you order a 16-incher. 805-3888. Nobody does it better.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villa. For under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra-large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet-friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mentioned you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Becoming fair through the nighttime as any spotty showers will quickly diminish. Overnight lows into the lower 70s. For the midweek, a little more unsettled with scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms popping up each day through Thursday. Not as hot with highs closer to 90. Dr. Ron Phelps has released the most important book he's ever written, The Unraveling of America. He pulls back the curtain and exposes those who are pulling the strings and unraveling the fabric of America. Available at ronphillips.org or Amazon. And I'm Swarm Team 12's Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. The Walker County Sheriff's Office is seeking a man they are describing as armed and dangerous, and it's entirely possible he made his way to Hamilton County. Deputies say D'Angelo Dwayne Tarver is wanted for aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and criminal damage to property. The sheriff urges anyone who sees him to approach him as if he were armed and dangerous because he's believed to be. The man who escaped from Moccasin Bend was captured thanks to a canine unit. He was apparently spotted thanks to neighbors who saw him walking down railroad tracks and then jump into the woods. They called police and a canine unit sniffed him out and he was taken into custody. He's facing charges of child rape in Hamblin County. And one of our own competed in Rio today. Sean Ryan, an alumni of Macaulay, is competing at the 10K Marathon Open Water in Rio at the Olympics today. A viewing party was held at the school for friends and faculty, and they're watching with anticipation to see the results. If it's going on the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Make sure you listen to us live on the TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone and like us on Facebook.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Does college football have an epidemic? I mean, you get to thinking about these things. Saturday Down South had a fantastic article on it. Does college football have a quarterback transfer epidemic? Because quarterbacks basically have been transferring all over the place like crazy. And even just in the SEC, you can see it. You can see a guy like Trevor Knight transfers in, which is a huge, like a godsend if you're Kevin Sumlin. If you're Kevin Sumlin, you are the most grateful human on earth after you lose Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray, two guys transferring out. You know, and there's a level of, if you don't want to play me, fine, I'll go somewhere else and play. And these guys are transferring all over the place. You've got Luke Del Rio. He transfers in. Treon Harris, Will Greer, they transfer out. You've got like a huge quarterback transfer issue. Guys are just transferring at the drop of a hat. What's his name from Mississippi State? Elijah Staley transferred away as well. It's merely because it didn't look like he was going to beat Nick Fitzgerald for the job. And you have to look at it and go, dude, if you're backing up Fitzgerald, if Fitzgerald rolls his ankle, if he throws 4 interceptions in a game, you're the starter. Why do you have to transfer? Why transfer right now? It almost makes no sense, except, you know, people have come up with theories for these things. And I think it's great to come up with theories, but if you're going to come up with theories, put a lot of thought into it, some sense. Because the big theory that I'm hearing to explain the transfer epidemic in college football is this: they're millennials. End of the explanation. There is no more explanation. They're millennials. Those young people, they don't know how to persist. They don't know how to put their head down and struggle. Come on, man. That's the explanation. They're millennials. They have no other reason for wanting to transfer out. They just, coach isn't going to play me, so I'm going to take my ball and go home. You think that's all it is? It's not. That's not all it is. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like, what planet are you living on? Really? All of these guys, every single last one of them believes that they have what it takes to make it to the NFL. And the NFL is your dream job. And you can't reach your dream job if you don't have work experience. This is not just football. Okay? This is everything. If you're in college now, you understand what I'm talking about. If you wait until you graduate to try and get experience in most fields, you are never, ever, ever going to get hired. If you wait to graduate to get experience, you graduate, you start looking for a job, and people are like, well, how much experience do you have? What have you done? And you're like, nothing. I've been nowhere, and I've done no thing. Who's going to hire you? Who realistically on this planet is going to hire you? I've got an answer for you. Nobody. Nobody. Nobody's going to hire you. And so you got guys, you've all got your eyes on the NFL. You all want a shot to play, not just to play, but to try and see if you can get in front of somebody's screen, get on somebody's television somewhere. Some scout going through film might accidentally see you if you transfer from Alabama, if you're a third stringer, to an FCS school. You've got a better shot of being Carson Wentz than I don't even know who Alabama's third string quarterback is. I have no clue. You've got a better shot. That's the real reason why guys are transferring, because the NFL doesn't have a minor league of its own. It refuses, and it uses college football as its minor league. And guys want to be in the NFL. Your dream is to be an NFL quarterback. I don't think anybody dreams of just going to college and stopping. Most guys that dominate on Saturday ultimately want to be playing football on Sunday, no matter what major it is that you get. And I don't care if you're a guy that really doesn't have a realistic chance of being a great NFL quarterback, like a Josh Dobbs, who's really good at the college level, but he's not realistically going to be an NFL QB. I'm not saying he can never be. I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying realistically, he more than likely, he will not be playing on Sunday. And if he does, it won't be for very long. It's just realistically, that's how that's going to play out. Okay, but the guy's a smart guy, literally a rocket scientist, so why would you need to lean on the NFL? He's going to try and take a shot, though, because why wouldn't you? But everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants that visibility because everybody wants their chance. Not just to play, but to play in front of somebody who may one day hire you. If I were a writer, and I did used to be a writer, and I did used to write for a couple of college publications at the multiple colleges that I have gone to, if for some reason I had to sit behind another writer, if I had to do that, I'd have left. Like, no, you don't get your chance to write yet. You've got to sit behind this other writer. And people say it's because these guys don't want to struggle. They're millennials. They don't like fighting. They don't like earning things. Guys like the struggle. Otherwise, you wouldn't play football. Football is nothing but a struggle. They wouldn't have gotten that far if they don't like the grind, if they don't like the struggle. They like the struggle. They just don't like the struggle for no reason. Nobody should be out here struggling for no good reason. If you've got to struggle, you've got to struggle. Okay, my parents came to this country. They didn't have much. They struggled. But I promise you, if they could have come to this country with stuff and they could have come here and just set up everything nicely, they wouldn't have struggled. Not if they didn't have to. What are you, crazy? Would you? I mean, you're struggling now. If someone said, here, you can keep going to work every day and doing your job, or I'll just give you $30 million. You quit your job tomorrow, just take this $30 million. Don't you just take the 30 mil? Why? Because you don't want to just struggle for no reason. Like, people don't just go to work just to go to work. You go to work because you have to. You struggle because you have to. And what a lot of college quarterbacks are finding is I actually have an economic benefit of transferring because I've got a better chance of playing somewhere else, even if I have to sit the year out. I have a more realistic chance of starting than if I sit here and wait for another guy to get injured. That may never happen. I may never have my shot in front of an NFL scout. It's just a cost benefit analysis, and the benefit is in transferring. You've got a lot more to gain and a lot less to lose in transferring, where there's a school that needs a quarterback and you know it and you're going there, than sitting around at your school waiting for the job to open because of injury or maybe bad play. And a coach that clearly doesn't think that you outright should get the job because they're not giving it to you outright. Like, there's no need to struggle for no good reason. If you're going to struggle for some kind of purpose. Don't just struggle just to do it. And a lot of college quarterbacks are finding, if I transfer out of here, I have a better opportunity somewhere else. Is it an epidemic? Yes. But the 1 year rule where you have to sit out for 1 year if you've transferred, that rule makes it so that guys aren't transferring all over the place. But there's so many schools and so many options. You know, if you're at an FBS school, you can transfer to an FCS school without sitting out a year. If you graduate, you can transfer without sitting out a year. If you go play Division II for whatever reason, Cam Newton had to because of off the field stuff, and then you come back, then you don't have to sit out a year. All of these things are reasons why you wouldn't have to sit out a year. I mean, you look at a guy like Luke Del Rio, who's literally just been all over the place because he didn't see anything that he liked. Luke Del Rio originally actually was recruited by Jim McElwain at Colorado State, and then chose not to go to Colorado State, went to Alabama as a walk-on, didn't get the job, was really never considered for it. He was there with Coach Nussmeier. Nussmeier bounces for Michigan, and so with no real reason to stay, he transfers to Oregon State. Del Rio, Oregon State, that doesn't open up at all for him, not an offense that he likes, etc. So he transfers now to Florida to be reunited with Jim McElwain, who recruited him in the first place. And I've got to tell you, all of that has led Luke Del Rio to a point now where he's in an offense that he's familiar with a coach that he's familiar with, and he's got a chance to start. He looks like he's going to. The coaches really like him. He's got a great shot. Like Luke Del Rio's turning heads over there in Florida. Florida was supposed to be bad offensively this year, and if Del Rio is everything that he is advertised to be, Florida might be ahead of schedule. Florida just might be ahead of schedule if Del Rio is even remotely more competent than Will Grier. And the signs are that he is. So who made the bad decision? If Luke Del Rio stayed at Alabama, does he ever start? Does he ever play? We don't know. But taking the chance to transfer still ultimately worked out in his favor. And so that's why guys are transferring. I mean, it's an epidemic, but it's not an epidemic of quitters. It's an epidemic of guys looking at their options and going, you know what? I'm choosing the one that's best for me. And we don't like it when athletes have that kind of freedom. And we specifically do not like it when college athletes have that kind of freedom, because we'd like to believe that everybody just shows up and plays for the name on the front of the jersey. And I have news for you. They don't. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I look for any particular excuse to talk about basketball, as it is my favorite sport. And Team USA basketball is, to me, one of the more interesting stories of the Olympics, because originally they looked like they were going to be one of the least interesting stories of the Olympics. The way that those games that they were doing in their preliminary games to get everybody acclimated to each other, they were smoking people. And it looked like, oh, it's going to be another Team USA rout. They've got a great team. This team, on paper, is better than the team that won in Spain in 2014. Team USA should just show up and roll over everybody. Then they showed up, smoked China. All right. That's what's supposed to happen. I didn't watch that game. Was not planning on watching that game, and glad I did not watch that game. That would just watching a never-ending layup drill of Americans is not fun or entertaining to me in any particular kind of way. But when you look at Team USA, ever since then, they've won games by a margin of roughly 3 to 4 points, and it's against Australia, who is good, but like not that good. I mean, Matthew Dellavedova is one of their key players. I'm sorry. Matthew Dellavedova is not punking anybody. Australia plays rough. They play tough, and they've got a lot of NBA players on their team. Patty Mills is really good. Andrew Bogut's really large. So maybe, fine. Well, nobody panic over the Australia game. Then they play against Serbia. The Serbia game is close. Teljadosic, I want to say his name is. I don't know how to pronounce his name very well, so I hope I didn't just butcher it. The Serbian point guard. That guy should be in the NBA. He's not, and I don't know why. Watching him play, dude's got great court vision, great ball handling, made Team USA look foolish. Everybody was caught watching that guy, and Serbia hung in the game. Team USA hangs on to win it. Still not a reason to panic. Serbia's really good. Serbia's got a lot of NBA players, length, size, defense, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, fine. But France? They lost to France. And I'm sorry. No Tony Parker. This is possibly the weakest French team that they've ever run out there in the last decade and a half. France? Really? And Team USA went out there and just struggled against France and just barely got away from France. And this team, this dream team, and I don't want to call them the dream team because this is not like the best guys in the NBA now, and certainly the original dream team with Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Scottie Pippen. Like that team would have smoked this team. And I get it. But this team's supposed to be a great team, and they shouldn't be struggling like they are struggling. If the games are close and you're winning by 10, 12 points, that's different than winning by 3 or 4 points over opponents that you really ought to be steamrolling. You won the 2014 FIBA World Championship by a margin of 30. 30. And you beat a lot of teams that people thought were going to give you a challenge. And this is what your roster looked like then. Your roster had Steph, Clay, and that's before those guys bloomed into who they were going to be. Derrick Rose, Kenneth Faried, Rudy Gay, DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie before Kyrie bloomed into who we thought he was going to be, Mason Plumlee, DeMarcus Cousins, James Harden, Anthony Davis before Anthony Davis became Anthony Davis, and Andre Drummond before Andre Drummond became Andre Drummond. You got a bunch of guys who are really good, but they haven't even achieved their potential yet on that 24 team that beat everybody by a margin of 30. This Team USA team that's beating everybody by a margin of 3 has Carmelo Anthony, who is the highest scorer in Olympic history, Harrison Barnes, Jimmy Butler, who is a great defender, DeMarcus Cousins, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Paul George, Draymond Green, Kyrie Irving after his evolution, DeAndre Jordan, Kyle Lowry after a couple of breakout seasons, and Klay Thompson after he's become who he was going to be. This team is way better than the 2014 team on paper, but this team compared to that team is a super team, and super teams tend to stink when certain things are not taken into consideration. You can't just slap a bunch of talented people together and expect victory. And nowhere do we see this more than in music and movies. Here's some bands and movies that prove that getting a bunch of talented people together in one area does not necessarily guarantee success. I don't know if you remember Ringo Starr and his all-star band, Starr spelled like Starr and Ringo Starr, which is just the corniest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, in that band was Joe Walsh of the Eagles, Niels Lofgren from Crazy Horse, and Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band. That's a talented lineup there. Ringo Starr and his all-star band. Does anybody even remember them? Because I had to look this up. I did not know that they existed. Their music is okay. But for that much talent, it shouldn't just be okay. Maybe those people who listen to indie music will get this. But the Postal Service had Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie. Jimmy Tomborolo from Figurine. Solid electronic band there. Jenny Lewis from Rilo Kiley. And also Jenny Lewis makes some great solo music as well. Laura Burnham from the Minor Birds, and the Postal Service was okay. They were just average. Like on paper, this is a better band than what we actually got, which is Death Cab for Cutie minus the heart. Just say it. You got Boxcar Racer with Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, David Kennedy from Over My Dead Body, and Travis Barker from also Blink-182. What was that band? Awful. They were bad. It was not good. There's not good music. You can't just take a bunch of talented people, slap them together, and call it talent. And then I remember Chickenfoot a few years back. Chickenfoot, to me, is possibly the most disappointing band I have ever witnessed, inasmuch as they had Sammy Hagar from Van Halen, Joe Satriani, who's got some great solo stuff and played with Mick Jagger, Michael Anthony, also from Van Halen, and Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Chickenfoot was an abomination. That band should never have happened. I actually re-traumatized myself listening to Chickenfoot again, doing the research for the show. They were horrible. Like, there was no chemistry. There was no interplay between the guys. It looks like Team USA basketball. Like, if you want to hear what Team USA basketball sounds like, subject yourself to Chickenfoot. Just do it. If you want to hear the sound of Team USA basketball, subject yourself to Chickenfoot, because this is too much talent in one band for that band to be as bad as it was. It was terrible. Team USA. Found a few movies that have the same concept. Some bad movies with a lot of great actors in it. You can't put a bunch of talent on screen and make a good movie. Like, just a bunch of actors. If the movie's not good, if the story's not good, if the chemistry's not good, the movie's bad. And it doesn't matter. Gangster Squad came out a couple of years ago. Looked like it was going to be a good movie. Had Ryan Gosling, Josh Brolin, Sean Penn, Anthony Mackie, Michael Pena, and Emma Stone in it. Watch the movie. I like gangster movies. So I watched the movie. Like, Goodfellas is my favorite movie. I like gangster movies. I watched Gangster Squad. And you know what? That movie is a cartoon. It's a horrible movie. This is a bad film. Then the movie Won't Back Down. It's supposed to be this great drama, teachers overcoming stuff. I like that. I like to see that kind of movie. It's got Viola Davis, Oscar Isaac, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Lance Reddick, and Rosie Perez. Dreadful movie. Just bad. Just bad. Plus, it demonized teachers' unions, which I understand that teachers' unions aren't like the greatest thing ever, but are you serious? You're supposed to be on the side of the teachers. Like, that's what you advertise the movie. I mean, it's just a dreadful movie. We don't have to go into why it was bad. It's just bad. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, had Liam Neeson's, Ewan McGregor, and Natalie Portman. And it's Star Wars. And it's directed by George Lucas. Bad movie. Bad movie. Of the whole second trilogy of Star Wars, arguably the worst one. You could also argue that the third one was the worst one, but I would argue that The Phantom Menace was, I didn't enjoy it. No, I didn't. And then Now You See Me, 1 and 2. Why they made 2 of these movies, only I will never know. I will never know. And in this movie, this is possibly the worst one here. This is the example that slapping a bunch of talent together does not make a good movie. Morgan Freeman, Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, Michael Caine, and Common. I mean, this is star-studded here. This is as star-studded as it gets. And you know what? Nothing. That movie was bad. I wanted to forget it as soon as I left the theater, but I couldn't. And it's got a stupid plot twist in the first one. Never watched the second one. Never going to watch the second one. It's bad. You can't take a bunch of talent, slap it together, and say that you're just going to win everything and have chemistry. There is none. Team USA basketball is Now You See Me. Team USA basketball is Chickenfoot. It's like the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. A bunch of talented people in it. The movie's horrible. You've got Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, DeMarcus Cousins, Jimmy Butler. You're Chickenfoot. I mean, you're a bad team. And you have no reason to be a bad team. You've got a great coach in Coach Mike Krzyzewski, who, by the way, is not doing a great job coaching this. I don't know what they're doing. They're lazy on defense. They're not communicating. They're not passing the ball around. They're predictable. The rotations are predictable. They're Now You See Me. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you in 24 hours. Stick around. Sons of Liberty up next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
With every election, the government always gets in. You're right to be angry. We have no free market, red tape everywhere, taxes crushing. There's no level playing field. Tomorrow may be a day of reckoning, but there is something you can do. It's personal safety, personal security, shooter supply and indoor range. Find the handgun or long gun suitable to you. Take a concealed carry permit class. Use Shooters Roomy Indoor Private Shooting Range. Get expert personal advice. Shooter Supply fights boldly against big boxes. It helps people understand firearms. A free republic has become a despotism. Let them choke on their swag. For us, we invest in personal safety. In the Second Amendment, fight back, shop local. The country is in a desperate situation, but you don't have to be. Shooter Supply, love your neighbor, buy local. 875-4868, 875-4868, shooters-range.com. Shop shooters-range.com. Think about the future. What about your kids?
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton, Tax Services, Accounting, Cash Flow. We're small business specialists. I've been helping families and businesses for 35 years. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339. We make life less taxing.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address